Some of our most impactful plays go far beyond the court or field. This is the Net to Net live show.
It's more than just a game.
Well, welcome back. We're here for another episode of the Net to Net live show. How you feeling, Monte?
I'm feeling amazing. Again, a very entertaining sports week. A lot of headlines that came out. So let's get into it.
Yeah, a lot of things. We're on Spotify, so from Net to Net podcast, you can find us there. You can find us on Instagram, FNTN_podcast. We've been, clip farming, getting those engagements up. We're trying to grow, so we appreciate all the support. But yeah, a lot around the soccer, a lot of news around soccer. What's a big thing you want to talk about?
Yeah, massive headline came out over the weekend. David Coote, a longtime tenured official or referee, if you want to call it, was recently suspended. Obviously, there's an ongoing investigation after a video went around where he was making very derogatory and biased remarks against Liverpool and specifically former head coach Jurgen Klopp, calling him a series of profanity that I can't say on the show. But the video was back from 2020 during the COVID era after a game in which they played Burnley, 1-1 draw. And he was saying Liverpool were blank and Jurgen Klopp is a German blank. And he was basically just saying that Jurgen Klopp is a liar and he's a very arrogant person, and this video ended up being leaked. But it just challenges now the credibility of officiating in the modern sporting world, but obviously specifically to soccer. It makes you wonder how this type of bias could possibly affect teams in the long run, especially for a team like Liverpool, who's been a perennial contender and every single point counts nowadays. But what did you take away from it specifically, and what impacts could it have?
Yeah, I mean, this is revolutionary for the refereeing, just for the refereeing governing body, because now anything they say, their credibility is going to be questioned, right? So let's get into how it happened. So David Coote is a referee, and every referee who's part of the PGMOL, which is the referee governing body, has to disclose their favorite team, the team that they're a fan of, to the governing body. So David Coote is registered as a Notts County fan, so therefore he's not allowed to referee any Notts County or Nottingham Forest matches, which makes sense. There were very recent pictures of him at Old Trafford, and he looked to be a fan of Old Trafford, of Manchester United. He was with the players in the stadium, and
So you're geeked out.
Manchester United is a direct rival of Liverpool, so it makes sense why he would have some animosity towards Liverpool. But yeah, in the video, he did look intoxicated. He was slurring his words. He was definitely under the influence of something. And when you're intoxicated, you share your real thoughts, and I think that's what was happening here. He did mention in the video, he was this video can't get out, no one can see this video, and obviously it got out.
Bro got clipped.
It took 4 years for the video to get out, but eventually it got out. And you talked about the 1-1 draw. This was significant for a lot of reasons, because this was in a season where Liverpool were looking to reach 100 points. It's a massive feat, reaching 100 points in the Premier League season. It's something that's rarely done. They were looking to be Centurions, who had the only other Centurions were Manchester City, a couple of years ago. So it's a big thing. They want to get to that level, and this was the last couple of games of the season. So this draw with Burnley is ultimately what stopped them from reaching 100 points, because they were just a couple points off. So if they had won this game, they would have gotten that landmark. And there are a lot of things looking back that you can look at David Coote's history and be like, oh, this was a bit questionable. So for example, there was a notorious Virgil van Dijk injury. So Virgil van Dijk was offside, and David Coote didn't call the offside, and Pickford came in and injured Van Dijk, and that cost Liverpool their center back for a large portion of the season. And then with this Burnley game, there were a lot of fouls. Even looking back at the game, there are a lot of fouls that could have gone Liverpool's way that didn't. So a lot of calls against Liverpool, and yeah, it just makes you question the credibility. And so he's been suspended, and now we have to see how this progresses. How is the Premier League going to ensure that other referees aren't biased? Is the solution to bring in maybe foreign referees, non-English referees? That's been talked about because European referees usually do have a better pedigree of refereeing. They seem to be more unbiased. People seem to have less problems with their decisions. So maybe that's the path they decide to take in the future. But for now, we'll have to see if he's deemed guilty, because in the world of AI, a lot of people were saying, oh, it's an AI video, but it doesn't seem like that. It seems like this was a genuine video. The governing body is treating it as a genuine video, and I think they'll dish out punishment as they see fit.
You talked about possible punishment, possible repercussions. What do you think is going to happen? Do you think he'll ever officiate in the Premier League again, like in general? Or will it just be strictly no Liverpool games? Like, what do you think is a reasonable punishment for this?
I don't know what's reasonable, but I do think he'll referee in the Premier League again, because this isn't the first time we're seeing controversy with referees. It was just last year, there was a referee who came out and said, so you know how the VAR room works. There's a bunch of referees, and it's basically their job to overturn the on-field referee's decision to say if it was right or if it was wrong. Basically, one of the VAR room referees came out and said that even though I didn't agree with the on-field decision, I didn't overturn it because I felt bad for the on-field referee because he's my friend. Oh. That kind of stuff just can't happen in the professional game. You can't be like, oh, I didn't want to hurt his feelings, so let me not overturn it. Let me say he was right, even though I don't agree with the decision he made. Yes. I have the cameras in front of me. I can see what was actually happening on the pitch. So that came out, and there were no repercussions from that statement. So I do think he will referee in the Premier League again, but I do not think fans will be happy.
All right, some more Premier League headlines. Let's touch upon a match slate that occurred. Tottenham and Ipswich played, and Tottenham ended up losing the game to Ipswich. 2-1 was the final score. What were your takeaways from this? What does this say about Tottenham, and what does this say about Ipswich, a relatively small market team?
Yeah, so this was Ipswich's first Premier League win of the season, and their first for many, many years. The last time they won was the last time they were in the Premier League, and that was 22 years ago. So it's been a while since they got a Premier League win. And the game went down. Their striker Sami Smojic, it's a difficult name to pronounce, and Liam Delap, the son of Rory Delap, who I actually mentioned on last episode for his notorious throw-ins. Well, so those two players scored for Ipswich. For Spurs, Bentancur got one back with a header, but it wasn't enough. And Ange Postecoglou was disappointed. He said that we lost ourselves a game. We never really gave ourselves a chance to win. And this is disappointing for Tottenham, but it's more we want to focus on Ipswich and what this means for them, because they have come they have had a very difficult path. So they got relegated 22 years ago. They failed to come back up. They stayed in the championship for a few years, and then they got relegated once again. So they went down to League One, and they played in League One. And then just 2 seasons ago, they got promotion from League One to back to Championship. And then in consecutive seasons, 2 consecutive promotions. So from League One to Championship, and Championship to Premier League, and now they're here. And this transition it came crazy quickly, because you think of a team, you think of the quality of the team, you would think it's still League One quality, but they've had some investors. Ed Sheeran is actually a massive part of this club. He's their sponsor. He's on the front of the shirts. He comes to a lot of the home games. I think it's his boyhood club. He was a fan of Ipswich growing up, and he decided to sponsor them, and he's been a big part of their success. But it just talks a lot about what can be done with the right management, with the right structure in a team. And they've come up, they managed to beat Spurs, and now they're out of the relegation zone. This is a team that a lot of people are saying, well, they're going to go straight down. They're barely going to get any wins of the season. And it's true, it's taken them a while to get their first win, but they haven't been bad. They've had a lot of close draws. Even their game against Liverpool, it was a close game. They eventually lost 2-0, but they put up a fight. And against Aston Villa, who are in the championship, They beat no, they drew with Aston Villa, and it's been an impressive showing from them so far.
Yeah, you touched amazingly upon Ipswich and what it means for small market teams to come out with wins like this and just trend towards the right direction throughout the season. But just quickly on Tottenham's side, I think it's pretty embarrassing considering they have Champions League aspirations at the very least. They want to be a top four, top five seed, but when you concede a loss like this to a relegation zone team, it's not a great look. Uh, but it is an amazing day for or an amazing match slate for Ipswich. But you just touched upon what it means to be a small market team, to trend towards the right direction, to have the right structure. So I want to touch upon that a little bit more with Ipswich. Could you elaborate on that a little bit more?
So being a small market team, I think it's different in soccer than it is in basketball. Because for example, in basketball, you're a small market team. You're not going to get many stars. You're not going to have the gravitational pull to get players to want to come to your team. But sometimes that's okay because if you're bad, you get a high lottery pick, you can look to rebuild, and you can eventually start winning in that way. In soccer, if you're a bad team, there's no high lottery pick, there's no rebuilding, you just get relegated. They send you down to a different league, and they bring up whoever's trending up at that moment. And in some ways, that's just cruel on small market teams because how else are they supposed to get better? So they look to promote from within. They look to find gems from bigger teams. The loan system is a big thing for smaller teams because even though basketball, we don't have a loan system, but in soccer, that's a massive, massive feature because so from Chelsea, Manchester United, Man City, teams like Ipswich can look at their academies and be like, which player has a bright future, but you guys aren't using right now, but we could use. So that's a big developmental step on how small teams can get better. It's just using the players and resources of bigger teams.
That's a perfect point. And you were just talking about developing through the draft and obviously finding the right core pieces. I want to touch upon that more with the NBA. You touched upon it perfectly in soccer, but I'll do it for the NBA. A small market team that has completely put the league on notice, I think, is the Oklahoma City Thunder. And I think they've made the biggest impact in the NBA from a small market perspective because they've set the blueprint for what a proper rebuild should be. And they had a front office led by Sam Presti that was wise enough to swallow their pride and realize that change is necessary and can genuinely be beneficial in the long run. For a long time now, we've known the Oklahoma City Thunder as a perennial playoff contender that's hosted some of the best talents in the world. Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant, James Harden, Paul George, the list goes on and on. But after the first infamous shot in 2019 that Dame hit, they underwent a complete rebuild. They underwent one of the greatest rebuilds in modern sports history. And even though they had the upside to contend with MVP level talent like Paul George and Russell Westbrook, it's a results-based league where they objectively fell short. They ended up trading Paul George away for a historic haul of draft assets, which, by the way, completely altered the draft market or trade market forever. And they were able to get SGA, who's an MVP level talent. They traded away Russ for CP3 and more draft capital. But I think they just cracked the formula for a proper rebuild. You got to firstly understand that you're not good enough to contend before it's too late and you're stuck in no man's land, which is the worst part in sports history. You have to trade valuable assets while their value is high so that you can retain young players and draft capital in return. And then you want to also get some veteran guys to be able to nurture a culture and help with the on-court development of younger guys. So, for example, CP3 with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And you want to be able to maintain continuity, whether it's the coaching staff. Like they brought in Mark Dagnall from a G League affiliate team, and he's been here for like 4 years now. You've seen the progression throughout the years. And you also want to maintain continuity with a young core through a proper development program, whether it's acquiring them through the draft or those trades. And once they're proven foundational pieces, that's where you can start to kind of plug and pull the contending level pieces. So you see now the OKC Thunder, they added Caruso, they added Isaiah Hartenstein, Dort, Joe, all these guys. They're in a rarefied era where they're contending level talents, but they also have a treasure trove of draft capital to work with to invest in their future. And right now, I think they're favorites for the NBA Finals alongside the Boston Celtics. So what it means to be a small market team is to kind of just build upon your expectations and exceed everyone's expectations and doing it the right way when people don't expect it.
Yeah, I mean, I think my favorite thing about this team is how they haven't rushed it. It's been all calculated. They could have said, okay, Shea looks like he's a star. Even like 2 years ago, they said, Shea looks like he's a star. Let's trade one of our young pieces. Let's get another superstar name next to him. And let's try to contend right now. They've been patient. They've built this team up from the core. You know, Shea got his first playoff experience with Chris Paul. And then after he left, they started rebuilding. And he got his first real playoff matchups last year. And now I think they're in a place where they're ready to fight for the championship and potentially, hopefully win it. Hopefully beat the Celtics in the finals. Sure. But yeah, small market teams they're on the up. There's a lot of teams like them. There's the OKC, there's the Grizzlies, there's even the Pacers. A lot of small market teams who are doing really well for themselves right now.
Even like a team like the Indiana Pacers or the Charlotte Hornets, they're adopting this mentality that rebuilding can have genuine effects in the long run. As long as, like you mentioned before, it was the perfect way to put it. You need the right structure from within. Management, coaching, developing through the draft, trades to get young gems. You hit the nail on the head with that.
I have a game for you.
Okay.
We're going to try to guess the NBA player. I'm going to read out some stats, and I want you to just talk me through who you're thinking about. Who do you think this player could be? Okay. So 7.5 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, and 56% from 3 on 4 attempts.
Okay. Can I ask for a hint if this is a rookie or if this is a veteran?
So this is a veteran player and it's a starter. All these players who I'm going to tell you are starters.
I'm going to go with...
Well, what kind of player are you thinking of right now? What position?
I'm thinking it's probably like a center of some sort or like a power forward maybe. Just because like the rebounds are pretty balanced, the low level of assists, but like a average amount of points.
Okay, yeah. So it is a power forward. You're on the right track. And this player is in the Eastern Conference, if that helps you. So Eastern Conference, a veteran power forward, starter. 56% from 3 on 4 attempts. 56% is a pretty high amount. It's a abnormally high amount for this player. I'll give you that.
Is this team contending or...
This team wishes they were contending. They should be contending, but they've been very disappointing this year. We talked about this player on the first episode, and especially we talked about this player's coaching staff.
Oh my god. Is it Brook Lopez?
No, same team.
Wait, power forward. It's not Giannis, obviously. Power forward?
He's a wing. He's a wing.
Oh, wait. Taurean Prince.
It is Taurean Prince.
Oh, man.
Darvin Ham brought him over from the Lakers to the Bucks, and he's been okay, I guess. I mean, he's in his role, but they're not winning, so I guess you could say he's been bad. Okay, let's get on to the second one. So 13.5 points, 7 assists, almost 7 rebounds, 42% from 3 on 3 attempts, but only a 64% free throw. So maybe not the best shooter, but he's having a good shooting streak. You know, he looks pretty well balanced. 14 points, 7 assists, almost 7 rebounds. What are you thinking?
East or West team?
This is in the East.
Contender or non-contender?
Non-contender.
What's throwing me off is the disparity between, like, they're such a good three-point shooter, but they're such a bad free throw shooter.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. Not a contender. Off the top of my mind, I kind of want to say it's like Jonas Valanciunas from the Wizards for some reason.
Let me give you, it's a guard.
This is a guard. Okay. What team are they on? I'm so sorry.
They're on the Chicago Bulls.
Is this Kobe White?
No, not Kobe White.
Nah, it's surely not.
Another one of their guards.
It's not Zach LaVine.
It's not Zach LaVine.
There's Josh Giddey.
It is
Oh,
Josh Giddey. You know, he's having a very good season so far.
The Kiddler.
He's been great for my fantasy team, honestly. Okay, let's get on to the last one real quick. 19 points, 4.5 assists, 4.5 rebounds, 40% on 9 attempts, and then 1 steal and 1 block. 9 attempts is a lot of threes to shoot in a game. So let's think about some teams that get up a lot of threes.
Let me tell you right now, I think the stats are pretty identical to a guy on my favorite team.
Yes, sir.
Is this Derek White?
This is Derek White. No, I had to put one of your players in there. I knew you'd get him.
The all-star agenda right now. These stats are incredible, man. He's going to be all defense. If the media trends towards the right direction, I think he'll be an all-star this year too.
I mean, you'd hope so. Speaking of all-stars, speaking of media coverage, let's talk about Embiid. Let's talk about injuries. Injuries have been a really unfortunate part of this season so far. We've had so many stars sitting out already, so many players missing games, not even missing the season in general. Like, a lot of players haven't even started the season. They haven't played a single game yet, and Embiid is one of those players. He's always had injury issues, but this year it's been amplified because he himself came out and said he's not going to play back-to-backs. So there's load managing, there's injury issues, and there's the plan of what do the Sixers want to do with him. Obviously, he's an MVP caliber player, but how do you manage him so that he can help you in the playoffs? Because every year it's been, okay, he has a pretty productive season, but then when it gets to the postseason, he's always banged up, he's always underperforming, or he just misses the season. He misses the postseason in general. Last year, he only played 39 games, less than 50% of the games. And this season, he hasn't started the season. And he was eligible to get back a couple games ago, but he had that altercation with the reporter, and he was suspended for 3 games. And his 3-game suspension runs out today, so he'll actually make his season debut today. Once Embiid comes back, the Sixers have to look to make a push, because this might be a dead season for them. They're already in a hole, and they have to try to dig themselves out of that hole. How are you feeling about their chances once Embiid comes back?
They're in such a weird position because they've basically pushed in all their chips to become a contending level team. You've extended Maxey and Embiid. You got Paul George on a max contract. You've gotten a bunch of high-level role players, I'll say that. Gershon Yabusele, Eric Gordon, Reggie Jackson, all these guys. They are such a well-constructed team from top down, but we talked about this in the first episode. Their health concerns are very legit, and they have been. I don't know if they're just a cursed franchise or whatever. Their playoff performances have always been underwhelming, but one thing I want to say is that if they're healthy, they're going to be a top-level team in the East. But I can't keep saying when they're healthy because they just aren't. But one thing I want to say about Embiid is that I think he's caught the short end of his stick throughout his whole career. I'm not a fan of him at all of what he does on the court in terms of, his flopping and.
Why are you hating?
Bro, I'm a hater of Embiid. Okay, flat out. He's an incredible talent, but the thing is, this year, I understand his motives. It's totally acceptable for him to say, okay, I'm not going to play in back-to-backs. I want to do everything I can to help my team win a championship. I'm finally past that mentality of, oh, I'm here just for my MVP and my individual accolades. I'm here to help my team win. And regardless of what side of the scale he's chosen, he's been criticized. Oh, he's too focused on the MVP and he doesn't care about team. When he finally does that, he's still being scrutinized by the media. And obviously, he was not happy about that. He was saying, I've put my life on the line for this effing city. I've done everything for Philly, and I'm still being judged.
And I mean, he's not wrong. He has done a lot for this team. But he's not the only one who's been out injured, is he?
Absolutely not. We got Kawhi Leonard from the Clippers. He has a degenerative knee issue. Like, there's no way it's anything less or more than that. Like, it's been an ongoing issue since he's been on the Spurs, actually, ever since he got that first ACL. And it's been a shame to see because he's a top 3 level talent in the world when he's healthy. But you tell me about what possible impacts this could have on the Clippers season, what it could mean come playoff time if they make it there. Just give me your thoughts on the Clippers and the Kawhi Leonard situation.
So, unlike the Sixers, the Clippers have actually been pretty good so far. They're off to a 6-5 start, which without Kawhi is very respectable. This is a team that a lot of people thought without Kawhi would be towards the bottom of the conference. And to have a 6-5 record in the very, very competitive West, it's not bad at all. This is a team that's been, we live by Harden, we die by Harden. It's either Harden's going to win you the game or Harden's going to have like 4 stupid turnovers back to back and lose you the game. Yeah, Kawhi's been out with his knee recovery, and this stemmed all from the Olympics. He was supposed to play in the Olympics, he didn't, and we were like, okay, you know, he was supposed to play, he didn't play, we're just going to take a rest and he'll be back for the season, but that's not been the case. We don't know what the exact timetable is going to be for him, and it's just hard because this is an issue where, as the Clippers, you can't fault the Clippers for not playing him because obviously he's not healthy enough to play. But you want to contend. You want to be good. You want to be there. Load management, he's been like the trailblazer for load management. And Kawhi has shown that he might be the, I don't know if you can think of any others, but any other load managing players that have shown it works. Because, you know, Kawhi had that one load management player in Toronto, and that season it worked. You know, he didn't play a crazy amount in the regular season, but he was healthy for the playoffs and he won the championship. Can you think of any other examples? I can't really put my mind to for load management that has proved to be successful, like proved to show winning results.
Off the top of my head, I don't think so. No.
Yeah, it's been Kawhi, it's been him taking over, and the Clippers are hoping that he can come back and do exactly that, take over and push this team to hopefully a higher seed in the very, very competitive West.
Yeah, the Clippers, I've been genuinely impressed with them this year. Like you said, having a winning record without your bona fide number 1 star is super respectable. But I also think it's in some way beneficial for them because now Harden's having to evolve his game as a balanced scorer and playmaker now. And getting those reps in to run the offense is going to be huge come playoff time. And you're seeing the evolution of guys on both sides of the ball. Norman Powell is having an MIP level season, legitimately all-star level stats. Zubac is playing out of his mind. Love what Derek Jones is bringing on the defensive side of the ball. But, man, I just feel so bad for Ty Lue. Like, he's such a great coach, but I don't think people will see his potential as a coach outside of obviously his championship back in Cleveland, but he's had to deal with Paul George's injuries back when he was on the Clippers, Kawhi Leonard's injuries since he was on the Clippers. And they've already invested so much into the core that they can't just let Kawhi go for nothing. They already did that with Paul George, and that's going to set them back a while for the future. And you can't just offload Kawhi Leonard because you want to contend, but your team's not bad enough in terms of the supporting cast to tank. So the Clippers are in a really awkward spot, but they have to contend. I don't know how they're going to figure it out with Kawhi Leonard, but they have to.
I agree. Okay. Another player we can touch on is Paulo. Paulo was having a phenomenal season before he went down, and now the Magic are trying to cope without him. What do you make of his injury? What do you think the Magic are going to do? And what do you think Paulo's future is going to be?
Paolo Banchero was having an all-NBA level season before his injury. Off the top of my mind, I'm forgetting what the injury was. I think it was something with his ribs. But 30 points per game, 50% from the field, 35% from three. So he'd evolved as a three-level scorer completely throughout this season. People were questioning the efficiency part of his game, and obviously he silenced those critics in the first 5 games of the season before injury. I know it's not a huge sample size, but it's still incredible. Paulo Banchero, he is the engine of the offense for the Magic. He's the number 1 overall pick for a reason. Superstar level ceiling, and it just sucks because the Magic, again, had so much expectations coming into this season off of a Cinderella playoff level season last year, and they had added some quality level pieces. They added Contavious Caldwell-Pope. They had extended Wagner, Jonathan Isaac, Jalen Suggs. Again, a really deep team, one of the best defensive teams in all of basketball. And for the guy who is engineering your offense and by far the most consistent piece, it just sucks for the Magic. Even Jamal Mosley was saying it sucks for him, the way in which he started this year, the way in which he was playing and carrying us. In the same way, it's an opportunity for other guys to step up, step into their role, and play our standard of basketball. And I love that mentality. Even though he is the best player on the team, I think the Magic can pull off some really, really gutsy wins until he comes back, just through the fact that they're one of the best defensive teams in all of basketball. But they're also going to lose a good amount of games because their offense won't be able to generate enough without Paulo.
Yeah, they'll be hoping Paulo can come back and give them the production he was giving before he went down with the injury. And we had another very, very significant player go down with the injury. Just a couple, last night, 2 nights ago,
Yeah,
Chet Holmgren, he takes a fall after Aaron Wiggins drives on him. He takes a fall. He fractures his hip.
Nasty fall too, yeah.
And he'll be out for around 8 to 10 weeks. This is actually really interesting for OKC because now they don't have a solidified big man. With Holmgren's out, Hartenstein's out, and Jalen Williams, not J-Dub, Jalen Williams is out as well. It's interesting to see how their big man core is going to play, who's going to step up, who's going to be that defensive anchor that Chet was, or try to be at least. Yeah, what do you have to say about Chet?
I saw a stat yesterday, just before I touch on Chet. Shea was the tallest player in the starting lineup yesterday. I saw it on, I think it was ESPN who posted it. At 6'6", he was the tallest player. So they're basically banking on a 5-out small ball offense to win them games. And you saw yesterday against the Clippers, who obviously are without Kawhi Leonard, they conceded 128 points. That's the most they've conceded all year. And it's going to be rough because teams are just going to keep attacking the paint on them, and then that opens up more opportunities on the perimeter. It's a very tough situation they're in. But just specifically to Chet Holmgren, what he means to the team, he was having a DPOY caliber season. He's genuinely one of the best defensive anchors in all of basketball. And the biggest thing was that he hit his offensive breakout, the thing that people were waiting for. Could he be the number 2 alongside Shea, the guy who can operate the pick and roll, who can play in the short roll, who can stretch the floor? He was doing all those things at such a high level. And for him to go down in the way he did, it was just a genuine shame to see, because now their offense is going to take a hit if Shea's not performing at the highest level, and all the supporting pieces like Dort, Joe, J-Dub. But their defense, without Hartenstein and Chet for the next few weeks, is going to be concerning. But the issue with Chet is that he needs to bulk up his frame. I literally talked about this in the first episode. That's the one thing that's going to hold him back is he will get bullied so much to a point that he has to bulk up. Like in his first season, he took a hit from LeBron James, and it costed him his season. This year, he takes a hard drive from Andrew Wiggins, falls down, out for the season. He's such a special talent, but until he can, fix his frame and, put in the work on his body, he's going to be held back by his health concerns.
I don't think he's out for the season. He's out for like 8 to 10 weeks.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
But yeah. He's out for a significant amount of time, yeah. And Chet, actually, after his injury, he did put out a tweet on socials, and I'll read out the tweet for you. So he said, "I can't tell if I feel better or worse about this having been through something similar before. On one hand, I know how to approach it. I know what to do, what not to do, and how beautiful the other side is. But on the other hand, I felt the frustration of this process and the wear it puts on your mind. Most of all, I'm hurt I can't help my teammates and play for our fans and supporters for a while. Everyone who sticks with me and our team, along with my needs for hoops, is a big part of my passion to return. Don't pity me or feel bad. There's lots of people out there with real problems that don't heal." And I think this is a good time to touch on just how injuries can affect a player's mental health. Because obviously Chet is not the first person who's gotten injured. We've seen a lot of players have season-ending injuries, even career-ending injuries, and you have to think how that can affect someone's mind. A really notorious one was Derrick Rose, of course. Back in his ACL tear in 2013, everyone's hopes were on him. He was Chicago's hope. He was Chicago's bright spark in a time where Chicago had not been that good since after Jordan. They'd been in a slump. Derrick Rose came, and an entire city was relying on him. In a time where you're out for the season and you're out for an indefinite amount of time, that FOMO you're going to get it's an indescribable feeling. You feel like you could be helping your team. You could be making things better for the team, but you're just on the sidelines and you have no idea when you're going to come back, if you're going to come back. Derrick Rose openly admitted that he had a lot of self-doubt and depressive episodes during his rehab process. And a neurologist who was working with Derrick Rose said that Rose injured his brain as much as he did his knee. And a lot of guys would have walked away from the game if they had suffered what he had suffered. And in the NBA or in sports in general, we can't really compare it to our lives because we have a cold, even if we break our leg, we're going to go to work. It's not going to affect our job really. We're going to do our work. But we don't rely on our bodies. We can bounce back from that. These players don't know if they'll have a job after hurting their leg because their entire job relies on a freak accident that could end their career.
I think we need to be so much more appreciative as fans. And, we're so quick to say in the media, "Oh, these guys are making millions of dollars, suck it up." Why do you think they're making millions of dollars? Because they're sacrificing their health, both physical and mental, to provide us entertainment. One freak accident, one wrong play, it can completely alter their career. And it's, like you said, there's obviously the physical toll of it, the rehabbing and whatnot, but it's just as much the mental episodes of, "Oh, I wish I could help my team win. Oh, what are people going to think of me after the injury? Could I possibly secure another contract if my play falters badly from a possible injury?" It's also tough. And another case that I just remember very vividly as a Celtics fan was when Gordon Hayward had that very freak accident on opening night in 2018. Tried catching a lob from Kyrie Irving, went down, super graphic injury of his ankle. And he was saying, just like Derrick Rose, like you mentioned, a depressive episode in which he said, "It's been painful, but it's nothing like sitting around watching the team you were supposed to be playing with to help win on the sideline. It's become much more difficult to deal with than the pain." It just feels like some of these athletes now, like, I feel so bad for some of them that suffer these major injuries because they want to help their teams win, especially when they're high level talent and they have so much expectations, individual and team, and they're not able to do so. But also the fact that their careers can be costed because if other guys begin to outshine them during that period that they're out, they hit a really rough patch. Like Gordon Hayward, he was the starter, and guys like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, they were still like developmental pieces. They were able to shine because of Gordon Hayward's injury, and then eventually they became superstar level talents. And Hayward nowadays is just
He's retired.
he retired.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Hayward retired from the NBA.
Until then, he was just a minimum role player. It's very sad to see, but one of the biggest case studies I think of this is John Wall.
Yeah.
John Wall was an all-star level talent, but you take the floor on this one.
Yeah, John Wall was a 5-time All-Star. He was a superstar in Washington. Again, an entire city with their hopes on John Wall and Bradley Beal. They were the dynamic duo who was supposed to take them to, at least a couple rounds into the playoffs, give the city some excitement. But he had his injury, and then he had some really difficult times after that. So his mother passed away in 2019. Just a year later, his grandmother passed away, both who he was really close with. And this is all happening while he's dealing with injuries, while he's trying to make a comeback to the NBA to play again. And throughout all this, he got traded to the Rockets. He was bouncing around. He was trying to stay healthy. He's out of the league now. And that's just what happens with these major injuries. In an interview, he was very candid about his recovery process and the mental toll it took on his body. He was saying that he struggled to find a suitor in the NBA. He contemplated suicide a lot of times. He put a gun to his head twice, and he stated that if it wasn't for his children, he might have not been here right now. He ultimately decided that being a father to 2 boys, his life was important and that suicide couldn't be an option for him. But it's just really hard to read and to see that the impact that injuries can really have on players, because we don't think about it. We think about, this player's out, I guess. Let me remove him from my fantasy team. Simple as that.
Yeah, we crack jokes about it.
This player's coming back from an injury. Let me bet his unders. He's not going to be that good. It's such a surface level thing for us. But in reality, these are real people. These are people who are going to go through things, who are going to feel things, who are going to feel depressed. They're going to feel sad. They're going to feel insecure about their jobs, and with good reason. John Wall thankfully was able to overcome that. In a recent quote, he said that I've been at the top, I'm at the bottom now, but I'm always going to work hard. I'm never going to stop working hard, trying to get back to where I think I belong. I take it serious. I could be here today and gone tomorrow. So enjoy it and put the work in. And it's inspirational to see that someone who's been through so much through his life and career is able to get through that.
It's genuinely bigger than the game. I know that's part of our intro, but it's genuinely true. We have to start seeing these athletes in their humanized aspects. Let's think beyond our fantasy teams, our parlays, our this. These are people who have emotions. They have mental health issues. They have their own families. They have their own personal lives, their brands. We're just so used to seeing for ourselves and what benefits us, but we have to understand why athletes are making the money that they are, why they're in the position that they're in, because they sacrifice so much mentally, physically, emotionally, and
well, we'll be hoping to see maybe John Wall. He's still trying to make a comeback to the league, so we wish John All the best. The last time he was in the league, he wasn't half bad. He was 10 points per game. It was pretty decent. But yeah, let's get into a couple of predictions for the NBA in-season tournament, known as the NBA Cup. It starts today. Let's start with the West. I'll read out the groups. I'll read out Group A. You tell me who you think can top the group and why. So in Group A, we have the Timberwolves, the Clippers, the Kings, the Rockets, and the Blazers.
Quick fire. I'm going to go with the Minnesota Timberwolves. I just think that Anthony Edwards is built for moments like these where he's going to step up in these clutch group stages. And if their other offensive pieces can hold up, they'll do great. The Kings, I think, are the biggest threat.
The Kings. I think the Rockets as well. The Rockets have looked okay this season, and I think this group of young Bucks will look to win. They want to win something. They want to have something to show for it. So I think they'll go pretty hard for the NBA Cup.
Shout out to my goat, Ime Udoka.
In Group B, we have the Thunder, the Suns, the Lakers, the Jazz, the Spurs. I think we know who's coming last in this group.
Oh, yeah, for sure. The Jazz.
But I think, obviously, OKC are going to be favorites because they have the superstars. They have the winning record. The Lakers won it last time. I don't really see them going for a repeat. So I think my pick here is going to be the Suns, even without Kevin Durant. I think they can step it up and win the NBA Cup.
I would have said the Thunder, but in recent years, the Lakers have actually been the team that's challenged the OKC Thunder the best. And now without Chet Holmgren, Anthony Davis is basically due for an MVP caliber performance within the group. There's no big man in the group that could stop AD outside of maybe Wemby. So I'm going to go with a hot take here. JJ Redick is going to make his stamp. The Lakers are going to win the West Group B.
Okay. I don't hate that for JJ. Okay, very quick. We got a minute left. Group C. Nuggets, Mavericks, Pelicans, Warriors, Grizzlies. Who's winning it?
I got the Nuggets. Okay, they've turned it around completely. Nikola Jokic is on a historic run. Give me them.
Okay, I understand. He might go for his next MVP. In the East, Group A, we have the Knicks, the Magic, the Sixers, the Nets, and the Hornets. I think that the Sixers could win this. With Embiid coming back, I think he'll be looking to put his mark on the NBA.
Yeah, the Knicks have been off a little bit, and the other teams are just kind of rebuilding level towns. Quickly, the Bucks, Pacers, Heat, Raptors, Pistons in Group B. Who do you got?
I'm taking the Raptors. Homer pick. The young Bucks, again, they're hungry to win. Heat have looked bad. Bucks have looked bad. Pistons are okay. Pacers are okay. And Group C, Celtics, Cavs, Bulls, Hawks, Wizards.
Celtics, but the Cavs are going to be so scary. I wouldn't be surprised if they won too.
Yeah, it'll be good. It'll be competitive. I'm looking forward to the NBA Cup. It speaks to me. I'm a big soccer guy. It's a good soccer style tournament. Okay, I think that's all for today. Thank you for another great episode. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thank you.
It's more than just a game.